we sang that every week, I figured it must be pretty important. So I decided that I was going to keep all my friends that I ever had as I went through life. But I was blessed to have some great first friends. My first friends were Katie, Heidi, and Helen. And I'm certain that our friendship started in the kindergarten sandbox. Because in that sandbox were 2 rabbits. They were plastic rabbits about this high, and they were dressed in pink and green dresses with a white apron and little granny glasses. So those were granny rabbits. And they were in that sandbox. And every time it was time to play, the 3 of us would race and grab those rabbits, and we would share with each other. We were so kind, but we didn't let anybody else have those rabbits. So I know that was the time when we started to become the best of friends. Now Heidi is the sweet, soft-spoken friend. And Helen is the empathetic, sophisticated friend. And Katie is the achiever friend who likes to boss us around. Now my contribution to this group was as the comedian. And I know that I was a comedian because every time we played cowboys and Indians, they would never let me be the Indian, they would never let me be the cowboy. I always had to be the sidekick. So I had plenty of practice in those days. But Katie and I really spent more time together than with the other 2 because our mothers were leaders within the Brownies and Girl Scouts. And Heidi and Helen lived next door to each other, so they spent most of their time together after school. So we had a nice arrangement. And the good thing about Katie that I really liked is that she lived near a creek. It ran right by her house. And one day I went over to her house, and you know what? Her brother and sister were not there, and her mother was in the house doing something very important, and she was ignoring us. So Katie, with her wonderful idea, said, "Sue, why don't we go for a hike on the creek and we can look for treasures?" And I thought, Katie, that's a great idea. But I didn't know Katie really had a plan in the back of her mind. And in those days, we wore dresses. You always wore a dress. You never wore pants. And I had 2 pairs of shoes. I had school shoes and I had dress shoes. So that day, as in most of my days, I was looking pretty cute. I was wearing a lovely little dress and my little saddle shoes. And Katie looked the same. And we decided to go down the embankment. We skidded right down there on our bottoms. And then we got down in the bottom, and the creek was not very high, but it was muddy. And so we started walking down single file with Katie leading the way and squishing our shoes. And then I noticed something. At the side, there was this yellow slug. And then as we went further, there was another yellow slug. Katie was taking me to a whole bunch of slugs. Now in those days, nothing bothered me that much because in my family, in our garden, we had snails, not slugs, and so you could pick up a snail and throw it. But with the slug, it's a bit different. So Katie picks up a slug and she wants to hand it to me. I screamed and I said, "Katie, I've had enough. I'm leaving." So I turned around. That's the way I handled Katie. I left. I marched straight back up that creek, went up that embankment. Uh-oh, there was Mrs. Kerner. She was looking for us. And when she saw mud on our dresses and mud on our shoes, she immediately called my mother and had her come and pick me up. Can you believe that? But anyway, Katie got in trouble, not me, because she knew her daughter. She knew her daughter always had some big plan to get us in trouble. And there would be lulls between Katie's little thoughts. But the next time, she felt sorry for us. So she invited all of us to go horseback riding somewhere. I have no idea. It was somewhere in the Bay Area. We were going to go horseback riding. And I knew this would be absolutely easy for me because I had been on merry-go-rounds and I had been on ponies that were hitched to wagon wheels. And so I was going to have a wonderful time. And when we got to this ranch, I couldn't believe the size of the horse. I mean, it was way up there. And the only way for me to get on that horse was to get on stairs. So I'd watched enough cowboy movies, so I knew how to do it. I just took my leg and went right over that, and I was on. I was going to have a good time. And so we all started going down the road. We went a couple miles, and then all of a sudden, we decided to stop and talk and decide where we would go next. So where did we go? We didn't have a chance because my horse turned around and headed back towards the barn. And he was not going slow. He was going fast, and I was holding on for dear life, and those girls just laughed. They thought it was the funniest thing, and we got back to the barn, and I had to get off that, and there was off that horse, and there was no stool or stairs. So I had to get off the best way I could, and I did. I felt so proud of myself. While they were all laughing at me, I got off the horse, and then the horse stepped on my foot. And I said some little things that a little girl should not do. But I was really surprised because later on, Katie even had horses. So she must have enjoyed this horse time we had together. But if you really want to know what embarrassed me with those girls, they were really cruel to me. My mother put me in a boarding school. And this boarding school for high school, it had rules that never quit. And two of the rules were the girls could never wear pants. You always had to wear dresses. Well, I was used to that. But they had to be calf, right here, mid-calf. And you could never wear sleeveless clothes. Never, here, no sleeves. I had to have your arms covered. I was feeling so bad because I didn't like this place that much. So my mother invited them to come and visit me, and they were going to come and surprise me. And they knew all about those rules. So you know what they did? They came to my school when everybody could see them at church time. And they wore spaghetti strap sundresses. And they marched down the middle of the aisle and sat by me. I could have crawled in a hole because we were very proper at that school. But what they thought about that school was they couldn't believe those nice Christian boy ushers who were taking up the offering, and they kept oogling them. Whoa, that was not very nice. So that was one of the most embarrassing things they had ever done to me. You know, these girls are still the same. Heidi is still soft and sweet. Helen married the student body president, and she became the hostess who helps everybody, never worked a day in her life, but she was the hostess. Katie, now she was different. She married a naval officer, and she became the head speech therapist for San Mateo County. And me, well, here you see me. I am still me, and I am doing what I do best. And Katie wrote me this long letter. I got it a week ago, and she wants us all to get together again, which we do every so often. But I can't wait to do it. So I'm going to call her tomorrow, and we're going to set up a time where all four of us are going to get together, and we're going to go back to our old days and laugh and remember what we've done and probably do some other little. I'm looking forward to it, to seeing my friends again.